all prevention guidelines. Download the free booklet at Scientology.org/stay well. An ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure.
Broadcasting live from the world-famous Las Vegas Strip, AM 670 KMZQ Las Vegas. Locally owned and operated by Kemp Broadcasting and Digital Outdoor.
Las Vegas rocks all around the clock. Las Vegas rocks, 'cause this town never stops. Las Vegas rocks all around the clock, 'cause this town never stops. Las Vegas rocks.
Las Vegas rocks. It's the Las Vegas Rocks radio show. The show before the show. Join us for a fast-paced hour of celebrity interviews and entertainment news. And now, here's Ron.
Well, Las Vegas rocks!
Las Vegas rocks!
Hey, welcome to the Las Vegas Rocks radio show. Last week, you heard from Arthur Shanker Jr., and we talked all about the dunes. Well, this evening, we are moving up north. We're going up a little bit to the Flamingo and the beginning of it all. With me in studio is Meyer Lansky II, and on the phone momentarily is the Mafia Princess, Antoinette Giancana. And, of course, with me today, the co-host of the show with me, movie producer Tom Hillary. The Las Vegas Rocks radio show is dedicated to the promotion of all things Vegas. But mostly we provide a platform to encourage, motivate, and promote local entertainers, singers, comics, musicians, magicians, and producers working in the showrooms, lounges, dinner clubs, comedy stores, nightclubs, and show bars in the greatest town around. And we'll get to our guests right after the shout-outs for today. Just a few days ago, a good friend of mine, his name was Tim Letourneau. He was my friend and former colleague in Las Vegas. Tim has left us for a better place. He was big in the media back in the day. He was here early on when things were really rolling here in Las Vegas. He was the sales manager at KVVU Fox 5. His name again was Tim Letourneau. He was my friend. He has left this earth, but my heart and respect go out to his son, Cody, and Tyler Letourneau. And to Cody, my boy, your dad was one of a kind. He was one of those guys. You know, one of those guys that lit up a room, one of those guys that made people laugh, one of those guys that you just never forget. I will miss him. T is what I called him, Tim Letourneau. Rest easy, cowboy. Also, hello to Marty Carmo, my friend in Reno, Josette LeBlond at Normandy Bakery in Los Angeles, my beautiful and exciting fiancée, Tammy Morelli, listening at home tonight with her dad, Floyd Tice. Johnny Skaggs in Tampa. Johnny, come back to town. David Arciero in Vietnam. Thanks, David. You're listening in Vietnam every single week. Is that all there is to do there? Listen to this show? Oh, my goodness. Janet Conway in New Jersey, who tells me if I got a good show going or if I don't. Tiffany T. will be here next week. Jerry Walker in Utah. And once again, thanks to the Italian-American Club. Angelo Casaro, Ben Spano, Jimmy Gerard for keeping live entertainment going. Thanks to Rob Garrett and the crew at the Chianti restaurant on Durango for keeping things going. This weekend he's doing the Hot August Nights. To the Tuscany Hotel and Casino. They're still moving in that lounge. Bobby Mayo's in the East Ring. Don't worry, guys. You'll get everything right and you'll all be back. So we're going to take a break right now, and we're going to come back with Meyer Lansky II and Antoinette Giancana right after this.
Sun Country Heating and Cooling is a premiered certified independent trained dealer that can fix or replace your broken AC system with an unbeatable combination of low-cost repairs and high-efficiency systems. We've installed more high-efficiency trained systems than any trained dealer since 2004. We are a family-owned and operated heating and cooling company. When it's 110 degrees outside and your cooling system fails, you can count on Sun Country Heating and Cooling for fast service. 702-617-8159. That's 702-617-8159.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ariel Winter. If you're anything like me, your pets are not only your best friends, they're part of your family. American Humane, which has been rescuing animals like Cleo here for more than 100 years, has life-saving tips that can make a big difference before, during, and after disasters such as hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, or wildfires. So when disaster strikes, you want to be prepared to protect them. Be sure to microchip or tag your pets. Never leave them behind in a major crisis, and be sure to have an emergency kit ready in your home at all times with a pet crate or carrier, leash, blanket, ID, and medications, their water bowl, and 7 to 10 days worth of food. To find out how to protect your entire family during a disaster and help our best friends in their worst times, please visit AmericanHumane.org.
There's no other place like Las Vegas to see. No other place like Las Vegas to be. Where beautiful mountains surround the town.
All right, I'm setting the mood, Meyer.
That's a song I really reckon.
Let's bring in. Is Antoinette on the phone, Jim?
I sure am.
It's Antoinette.
Antoinette, how are you?
I'm great, and how are you? And what a pleasure this is.
Well, thank you so much.
And when you mentioned the Italian-American Club, when I was there for that many years, I was involved with that.
Uh-huh.
And I was also involved with the Sons of Italy, so I'm fitting in right now very nicely about part of Vegas.
Well, I did some research, and I looked around to see what's going on with the Mafia Princess. And I was interested in seeing everything that you were talking about and what you did, and I've got to get the hold of the movie that starred Susan Lucci. Did you feel that was an accurate description, that movie?
I thought it was phenomenal. The only disappointment I had is I thought when I went to Canada to film it, being part of the film, that Susan Lucci I just met briefly. Hello, how are you? That was it. And then Tony Curtis is the one that I also just, hello, how are you? And that was it.
Well, let's go back a little bit in time. And in your book, you say that you really didn't know what was happening when you were growing up. You had no idea. But you learned later. Can you talk to us a little bit about how that felt and what that did for you going forward in your life?
All right. As a young one, I didn't know very much about anything. But when I got into high school and went to transferred from Ladywood, Indianapolis to Oak Park High, of course I was at home. And we get newspapers at home. And, my father made many of the headlines, and I just wondered what they were and what was really going on. Unfortunate for me, they just did not let the papers remain at home when I was there. They were trying to keep me in the dark, but fortunately, I was able to get out of the house as a senior in high school and get my own newspapers.
Uh-huh.
So
I believed and I did not believe in what they said. My father had kind of a split personality.
He was a homebody and he had a regular job. Is something like that, you mean?
Yes, he did have a regular job. He was building and involved in building. He was involved in bars, in restaurants here in Chicago. I mean, he was no slouch.
Hey, Antoinette, did you have any special times here in Las Vegas with your dad that you could tell people? Maybe with Phyllis McGuire and all those.
Oh, I stayed at the Desert Inn with him all the time because that was Mo Dalitz was his favorite person, and Mo Dalitz and I and the whole family became friendly. And then his wife at that time had a diamond pin called with her name Toni, T-O-N-I,
right,
in diamonds. Well, all I mentioned, it was very pretty, and I says, oh, that's my nickname. Well, not too long after that, I got my pin from Mr. Modalis.
What a nice guy he was. Yes.
Oh, I loved him dearly. You know, Las Vegas treats people well. Of course, they treated me very well, being who I was.
I wonder why that was. Gee, I wonder why.
Yes, I'm sure.
And then, I don't know. I just had really a wonderful time when I was younger there.
How often did you come to Las Vegas? One of my questions was, how do you feel about your Vegas experience? And I'm hearing it now. You said you had a wonderful time.
Well,
and, were you a young person at the time? Were you?
No, I was a senior in high school around that age.
You're still young then. Sure, that's young.
But it was phenomenal. You know, sitting around the Desert Inn, how can you not feel great?
Did you gamble at all at that age? I mean, I'm sure you were.
No, I wasn't. No, I snuck a drink now and then.
Snuck a drink. You probably could have gambled. Sure.
And one of the photographers there took a picture of me and put it in the local newspaper. Well, you know, practically all hell broke loose. But after they saw it, it was a very nice photo of me at the pool. So, and I think at that point, I couldn't find the picture now. I think I underwent maybe Tony Flood or Antoinette Giancana. I don't know which name I used.
Now, what name did your dad use when he came here? I heard he used...
Oh, God. What names did he use?
A lot of names, right?
Well, a lot of names, but his favorite one was Flood, F-L-O-O-D, because it was an easy name to remember.
Right. Interesting. And everybody knew him. I don't know.
Oh, I kind of miss Vegas.
Well, you know, the time that you came here and the time now, it's a little different, but...
A lot different.
Those days in the mid-century were something else. That's why we're here today.
Tell us a little bit about your dad's relationship with Frank Sinatra, who was big time Vegas guy.
Oh, it was a big time Vegas guy. He came out to appear at the Villa Venice restaurant here in Wheeling, Illinois. The whole group came out, the Rat Pack. They put on some phenomenal shows out here, etc., and everybody was treated very royally and so on, and I had the privilege of going up to the dining rooms. They had dining rooms upstairs for the theater people. So I'm sitting in between both Sammy Davis Jr. dining room and Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra had all of the Italian food, and Sammy Davis had all the ribs and stuff. What a night. You know something?
No stereotypes here, right? That's terrible.
I really did. My father did very well.
What about the Cal Neva, Antoinette? We know now that it's purchased by Larry Ellison, and I'm hoping that you
God,
can get
please
up there.
Hope it opens, please.
I hope it does, too.
I was just there. Last weekend I was in Tahoe, and I was riding around with my fiancée Tammy. And I said, come on, let's go look at the Cal Neva. And we went there, Antoinette. We went to the Cal Neva, and it's completely disheveled. It's a mess. It's got a big fence around it, and it doesn't say Cal Neva anywhere except for the street sign.
Well, actually, it would have a fence if it's in that bad a shape. I was there several years ago when it was open, and I had lunch there and drinks there, and I walked around the pool, and every time I had been to a place where I knew my father was involved, both socially, business, and friends, I always had received the feeling that he was walking with me when I was alone, with my friends, but alone without him there.
Do you do more talking, any kind of presentations in front of different groups, and so talking about your book and your dad, Sam Giancana?
No, that kind of died out here in Chicago.
They don't want to talk about it anymore?
Projects right now, and I'm hoping to get at least one or two done shortly. But, time runs out. I mean, I had a national and an international best-selling book, Mafia Princess.
Yes.
And I had Sam and JFK, which is a historical book about the outfit and Kennedy assassination. my two doctors and I that got together on there were extremely thorough. I mean, they all are. One had an MD, PhD from Oxford, so I wasn't dealing with any slouches. These guys were great.
What did you think about the movie Sugar Time with your father represented in?
Oh, it was okay.
It was okay movie.
Yeah. It was okay. It really was. That's the one with John Turturro, correct?
John Turturro.
All right. Well, did you realize that I was up there when they were filming and I was to be in the film?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. I looked stunning. I really did.
Sure.
I was so proud of me. But for some reason, the scene I was in, they had to cut short.
Let me add that those who are listening out there, they're listening to Lansky and Giancana.
Oh, I love Lansky, you know.
How about that? Meyer Lansky and Antoinette Giancana. You're listening to that. What a conversation and what names, huh?
Oh, man. Did he tell you how we met?
Oh, tell him how we met.
Tell us.
Oh, let him tell you. I mean, it was remarkable.
It was about 1991, and Robert Lacey had just finished the book, Meyer Lansky and the Gangster Life. So we went to the Maury Povich show, and I met Antoinette. This is probably 27 years ago now, I think.
Quit giving my age away, Mike.
Yeah, I won't
Be
do
nice.
that. So Antoinette was there, Robert Lacey, Maury Povich, of course, myself, and that's where we met, in New York City. And, it was around the time that Gotti was having the trials and that time period. And we've been friends ever since, a long time. Good friends. So,
yeah, and we had a great time. We sat at the bar after waiting for our limos to come pick us up to drive us to the airport.
That's right.
I just miss being driven around now.
And we've always compared notes on books that people write and send to us and want us to tell them what we think. And I'll call Antoinette and say, did this happen or that happen? No, that didn't happen.
We have remained the very best of friends that anyone could ever have.
When there's a quiet time for you and you're sitting at home and listening to nice music, do you reflect on what an impact that your dad and you and the Giancanas, the name, the Sinatra,
and don't forget Meyer's grandfather and everybody else.
And Meyer's grandfather.
All those old timers were great guys.
Do you think about all that? Do you say, "Wow, that was great"?
Yes, I do.
Or do you have any regrets about all that?
The only regret I have is not being able to take over one of my father's enterprises, and I think that was in my book, Mafia Princess. I'm not sure, but I thought I was going to lead into my father's business, at least one of them.
Right.
That was at least semi-legitimate. Well, that went over like you know what.
Not good. Did you ever... I know I've asked you before, but Tony Arcardo, Paul Rica, some of the older school guys back in the 20s, you got to meet them as a young girl. And
I love
stories about them. You know, they were well-renowned, and especially out here in Vegas, they took over a lot of things. So.
We're going to take a short break right now, Meyer.
Okay.
And Antoinette, stick around. We'll be right back with more. You got to be mobbed up to listen to this show tonight, huh? We'll be right back.
Las Vegas Relief Dispensary, your destination for the best deals in town. Get a half ounce of top shelf full flower from Vada for $130, plus an eighth for $1. Don't smoke? No problem. Las Vegas Relief is a home of the infused cannabis beverage, Two Roots Craft Beer, Just Society Iced Tea, and the new Creative Water Infused Seltzer. Located at 2244 Paradise Road. You can walk in or order online for express pickup or delivery at LasVegasRelief.com. That's LasVegasReleaf.com. Use code radio at checkout to redeem a penny pre-roll. Keep out of the reach of children. For use only by adults 21 years of age and older.
I'm attorney Paul Powell. If you get hurt in a crash, did you know your lawyer can take more money than you? You get hurt and the lawyer gets rich. Not very fair, is it? I promise never to take more money than you.
Paul Powell. More lawyer, less fee.
Some restrictions apply.
I'll be honest, the first few months were tough. When I left the military, I was excited for a fresh start, but civilian life has been harder than I thought it would be. Figuring out a new career while also being a good mom, wife, and friend. Some days I'm barely keeping my head above water. And with the transition and everything I'm juggling, I'm spread too thin. I finally realized that it's hurting my mental health. To get back to enjoying life again, I needed to get help. Opening up to someone was a big step for me. I saw that I'm not alone and that there are tools to help me overcome what I'm going through. With support, I feel like I'm heading in the right direction. Discover how other women veterans like me have learned to thrive after military service by taking care of themselves and their mental health. Visit maketheconnection.net/womenveterans.
Everything is different now. Hi, this is Andy Vieira. As we discover together what the new normal is going to be, remember, stay calm, stay healthy, be kind to others as well as yourself. We here at AM 670 KMZQ will give you the facts without the fear because this is our town too.
There's no other place like Las Vegas to see. No other place like Las Vegas to be. Where beautiful mountains surround the town. Your dreams and fantasies are all
All right, we have a little double there. That's the next song that we're going to use later. It was on the back of that. So, anyway, we know what that was. I listened to the Godfather album. Antoinette, you there still? Yeah?
Yeah, I'm still here. I want you to know that every book that is written on the mob, mafia, things like that, my research lately has just been one paragraph, maybe one sentence. But Meyer's grandfather and my father were closer than I ever thought they were, and then Meyer could tell you all of that about them. It just is strange how wonderful people meet wonderful people, and we remain friends and stuff like that, and we find out that our families were so close.
Right, and the nice thing about it, you and I both read books that people put out there, and they know something about this and that, especially
Oh, you're playing that song.
But there's a lot of things they don't. I mean, my grandfather and Sam were together down in Miami a lot of times, especially during the 60s. They had a lot of business. So. But that's not written anywhere. It's just because you and I can overhear things.
Well,
it's a different aspect. From
a fly on the wall.
Yeah, a fly on the wall type thing. It's wonderful that you never
Meyer,
see it in books. Yeah.
It's just amazing how both you and I met, and our families were so close in business that it's really sometimes I marvel at some of life's experiences.
Yes. We have a lot to look back on.
Yes, we do.
And we didn't realize some of these people till now, especially in, my age now. Who I was talking to at 17, 18.
So I was getting on 7:30 there in Chicago, Antoinette, and we're going to let you get back to what you were doing. I thank you so much.
Can I sit are you going to keep me connected so I can listen?
Yeah, we can do that. We'll just keep you so you can hear the rest of the show. And we might come back at you if you're still there, okay?
Listen, I'll be around.
All right. No, certainly. Stay online. It's okay with me.
I'm going to stay online. I'm curious.
It's all right with Jim. Let me check with our chief engineer. We're good?
Please.
All right, that's good. Tom, you have something you wanted to throw in here to talk to Antoinette for a moment?
Yeah, hi, Antoinette. Got a question for you. I understand every once in a while the government wanted to talk to your dad. And if I remember the story right, they actually invented this thing about immunity, so somebody couldn't take the Fifth Amendment, and therefore they'd have to talk because nothing would happen to them. And I remember when I first heard that, I thought to myself, wow, they're like fitting one guy into the U.S. Constitution. So I was wondering when that event happened, what was his feeling, reaction about it? How did his family think about it? How did it affect business and his business acquaintances when that technique came up?
I'm sorry to say, Tom, I think we lost the line there. But that was a great question.
I can try to repeat it for you.
So we can. That was great. Save that. We'll ask it next time. But somehow we lost her online there.
Oh, darn.
All right, we'll get back to her then. Thank you. Anyway, Antoinette, thank you so much for being on the Las Vegas Rocks radio show, talking about things that happened back then in the day and currently and so on. And we're going to move on here to Mr. Meyer Lansky II. Meyer, thank you so much for coming to the show today.
Well, it's great to be here today, Ron. as you know, we have a new restaurant in town at the Flamingo called Bugsy and Myers.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it was designed by Jonathan Adler, well-known, famous designer. He put us back in the 1930s, classic restaurant from New York. You walk in through the bakery. It's like you're in a restaurant in New York, basically. It's like a movie set. And that's the first part of it. So you're going to the bakery. You can see the meat being cut. And then you follow down into the dining room.
In the window, they're cutting the meat?
Yeah, they're cutting the meat. You can see everything as it's
aged
being
beef?
made. Aged beef, dried beef.
Dried, aged.
Great food.
We have Antoinette back on the line, by the way.
Oh, we do?
Yeah. So
well, hi, Antoinette.
Okay. Tom, get that question
Glad
up
to have you
again.
back.
Go ahead, Mike. Let's talk more about the restaurant. We'll come back to that in just a minute.
Okay. So anyway, beautiful place. I've been in there a few times. The food's amazing. Lamar Moore won the Vegas prize fight recently on the Cooking Channel, Food Network, and he's featured as the chef and a lot of innovative things. My personal favorites would be probably the French onion soup, which is made in 1640, I believe. They call it the 1640 French onion, and man, it's good. It's an old recipe.
From 1640?
From 1640,
I hope
right.
it's not left over from 1640.
If it is, it's pretty darn good. Let me tell
So
you.
the place is called Bugsy and Myers.
Bugsy and Myers. So
Obviously,
it's
the connection there.
the
Because
connection, right.
the Flamingo would be the only place to put that restaurant.
That's right. You're on ground zero.
Absolutely.
I've been going to the Flamingo for many, many years, and I know just about every spot. I think the restaurant is probably in the same location, which used to be Highway 91, now Las Vegas Boulevard, and Ben would be sitting in a booth when people walked in, and he had a phone by him, and he'd actually greet people.
Is there any buildings left from the original one?
No. In 90, I can't remember. It was in the 90s. I went through the actual suite that Ben Siegel built with Virginia Hill. It's over by the wedding chapel, and where that is. And boy, it had everything in it. In fact, we did a TV show locally here about it. And you had the trap door, they had marble, they had the best woods in his bar, and it was everything that you ever heard about. You knew where that money went that supposedly he had lost.
Supposedly disappeared, yeah.
He got carried away, I think, at that point. But what a place.
They still do, the casino guys. I was one of them. I got carried away a few times. That's easy to do, you know. You know, pretty soon you're running around. You're the boss. Hey,
you're the boss, and he was obsessed with it. And
That's right.
He was never a type of person to be controlled by anybody, except my grandfather had a little bit of control over
he had a lot.
his life. A lot. He was
He had
that was
a lot.
unique because.
Talking about the movie Bugsy, which Warren Beatty was in.
Well, let me tell
Is
you.
that? I'm not asking your opinion of what I'm saying. Is the way the events took place in your best recollection? Is that about right?
I would say so. Now, I knew Millicent Siegel, who passed away a couple years ago, the youngest daughter of Ben, and she didn't really have a great relationship with Warren Beatty, to be honest. And there were some parts of it, I think, when that were. It's a movie. I mean,
It's
some
a
of
movie.
it's streamed with in and out of some facts, some not facts. I don't think Bram was. They play him as being kind of a maniac all the time. He really wasn't like that. He groomed himself to be, he's around George Raft. He came out to L.A. and
He wanted to be in the movies.
yeah, in the middle of right after the Prohibition era, 1935 and 6, he was in L.A. getting everything together there. And then, he had a beautiful home. He engraced himself into the celebrity lifestyle in Hollywood. He worked with George Raft, went to a lot of parties. He wasn't always crazy like that. He had a lawyer, Lou Weiner.
Isn't that why Louis Weiner used to own Channel 3
Right,
here at the NBC station? But isn't that why they called him Bugsy? Because he was a little bit over the top?
Initially when my grandfather met him around 1960, they were teenagers. Grandpa was probably 4 years older than him. They were at a craps game. Grandpa was adding up all the possibilities and probabilities, and all of a sudden the fight broke out. A gun hit the ground. Ben jumped out and grabbed it and was going to shoot a guy that was complaining about it was his turf. And my grandpa says, throw the gun down. And, the Irish cops running down the street after him, and they got out of there. And he says, that's crazy. You're bugs. You're going to get caught. You're going to get a record. You don't want to do that. Play smart.
So that's where he got the nickname.
That's where he got the name, I think. Yeah, tag it right there.
I want to get Tom in here again, and let's double check and see. We still have Antoinette on the phone. Is that right?
Yep.
Are you there?
I am.
Okay. Tom Hillary, who is co-host and a movie producer with Starlight Productions here in Las Vegas and California, has a question for you. Okay.
Yeah, hi there, Antoinette. Just wanted to tell you, I'm going to repeat a little bit because I guess we got cut off. I understand the government wanted to talk to your dad here and there over the years. Yeah. And one of the stories I read about him that really intrigued me was this thing about, I think the government invented immunity for him so that he couldn't take the Fifth Amendment and therefore would have to testify. And I remember when I first heard that story, it was like really amazed me. I thought to myself that this like one guy they're making fit into the U.S. Constitution. And when that happened, I was wondering, like, how did he react to it, and how did his family feel about it, and did it have any impact on how he and his business associates interacted going forward? Like, what was the result of when that happened with him?
Well, my father wouldn't have said a word at all, but he was then jailed because of that, and that was the first client or the first person that they used that law on. Now, there's a second law, if you could remember back, that my father won, and that was called the lockstep. In other words, they were following him on the golf course for months and years. My brother-in-law happened to have been working in Washington as a lawyer. So he won the case, and what did he win out of that? The government could not ride on his tails, walk behind him, or do anything unless they were 6 or 8 feet away. They could not. So that was 2 laws that were developed by our government, and not the one. There were 2. I know it was sad. I
saw a biography of your dad recently. I did my homework. Your 2 sisters were on that one. Are you familiar with that one?
What book is that?
No, it was a biography on TV that I was able to call up, and your 2 sisters were part of it.
Oh, okay. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but they were talking about how that he was amazing because they couldn't pin anything on him, and he did win that case where the lockstep that you were talking about, in both cases, where they were following him like they were just right there, and he couldn't do anything. And he was one of the first ones to ever be able to do that.
Yeah, the 2 laws, national laws, were developed around him.
Mm-hmm. Well, stay tuned. Stick with us. We'll come back to you in a little while.
I just love your program.
Thank you so much. Hang in there. We're going to take a break right now. Are you ready, Jim? And we'll be right back. More with Antoinette Giancana and Meyer Lansky II.
Are you hot in your bedroom? Don't lose your cool. Call Active Air Conditioning at 702-438-3357. You've heard it all before. We're the best. We're the cheapest. We'll save you 50%. Yeah, right. 50% off what? Blah, blah, blah. At Active Air Conditioning, we don't come out to pick your pocket. We come out to service your needs. If you want a healthy, professional AC technician, call Active Air Conditioning at 702-438-3357. So remember, if it's hot in your bedroom, call Active Air Conditioning at 702-438-3357.
Afraid that price for your new air conditioning unit was too high? Afraid that repair price on your AC unit was too much? Sticker shock. Sticker shock. Sticker shock.
Home Air Conditioning, your cure for sticker shock. Call Home Air Conditioning for free second pricing on your new air conditioning unit or AC repair. Home Air Conditioning voted the friendliest AC company in the Valley. Call Danny for your free second pricing. 702-878-8367. Online at homeairlv.com.
This summer is hot. This year, if you're replacing your air conditioner, upgrade to a high-efficiency 2-stage system. More power when you need it, and energy-saving mode to lower that power bill.
Home Air Conditioning, locally owned and operated, and your home for free second pricing. An A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and Contractors Board. Call Danny today, 702-878-8367.
702-878-8367. Online at homeairlv.com.
License number 51994.
There's a place to share the joy of your team winning it all, and a place to share a laugh about skiing and taking a fall. There's a place to share photos of pets, or singing in the choir, or the time you ate a pepper and your mouth was on fire. But we could all be better at sharing how we're feeling inside. 76% of employees have struggled with at least one issue that affected their mental health. When you share, you're not alone. Ask about your company's emotional health benefits. Visit heart.org/sharing. Brought to you by the American Heart Association.
There's no other place like Las Vegas to see. No other place like Las Vegas to be. Where beautiful mountains surround the town. Your dreams and fantasies are all around.
We're back with Meyer Lansky II, and on the phone from Chicago, Antoinette Giancana. Meyer, let's go to Cuba.
Cuba,
that's the big story, isn't it? The
yes.
whole Cuban issue where your grandfather was in business with Batista.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of people know my grandfather is Hyman Roth, the Godfather too, with Michael Corleone up on the roof during his birthday, right?
That's right.
That is, the way that happened over in Cuba in 1957. He built the Havana Riviera, and he did have investors. He had Batista involved with him. Batista actually brought him over to clean up the gambling because it was so corrupt at that time. The Americans weren't coming anymore. And since my grandfather had previously been there in the 30s, he brought him back over, and he ended up building the big Havana Riviera. And if you watch the movie, they're running out of there during when Castro took over and everything like that. They did have a good 3 years though, when it was just classic, mid-century, and you had the wonderful music and the wonderful weather. You're 90 miles from Miami Beach, where he actually lived, and he was back and forth all the time. He loved the entertainment. That's one big thing about my grandpa that's kind of a mystery. Everybody says, well, wasn't he the accountant? And I said, yeah, but it makes him sound like he was hired by the mob. He actually was involved in everything. I mean, he loved the entertainment. He had some of the top entertainers when they opened. The night they opened in Cuba, the Havana Riviera, he had Steve Lawrence, and he had Mimi Van Dorn. There was there was a couple others that were really big.
You would say that it was Vegas before Vegas.
It was Vegas before Vegas. If it would have taken off, let's say this, it would have been a lot bigger than Vegas. Because you had 800 miles of coastline. He was getting ready.
A lot bigger.
Right. That was his first hotel. He was going to go to the islands of the Pines next.
They were literally in business with the government. The government was going to match $1 million for $1 million.
That's it. They were in business with the government.
And is that when he made that famous statement that we're bigger than U.S. Steel?
He did make that there, but it actually happened at the Volney Hotel in New York City that he was staying at, and there was an illegal. The FBI at the time would go around and they put illegal wiretaps in different hotels. Well, they went and put one in where he was, and his wife and him were ready to go to the hospital the next day. It was only a block away, so they stayed there. And one of the things they heard, he was watching a TV show, and said, "We're bigger than U.S. Steel." He said they were talking about the mob versus the government, and the mob was second to the government. He said, "No, we're not. We're bigger than U.S. Steel," and that's how that always stuck to him. So
we have a large Cuban population right here in Las Vegas, and I came to Las Vegas in 1970, which is a little bit after the '59 when all that happened, but no one knew how to play baccarat in Las Vegas or chemin de fer. And that's where they picked up the Cuban dealers. They brought all the Cuban dealers to Las Vegas because they were out of work now. Castro took over. He nationalized all the hotels. And that's when we started having better games and we had better dealers and the Cubans came.
Well, actually, before the Castro took over, they used to come back and forth because it was kind of seasonal. And some of the best roulette dealers, like you're saying, were from Cuba. They were just fantastic. And, he'd train them. They had all their... He had schools and
think about the Follies with the ruffled sleeves on the showgirls. That was all from down there, from the Havana Riviera, and there was also a Tropicana hotel down there at the time.
Tropicana, you had 3 or 4. You had the Hilton, you had Santo Traficante was over there. My uncle.
He's your uncle?
Lots of people. No, my uncle Jake.
Okay,
yeah, my
I thought your uncle was Santo. I said you really had tied up.
Boy, that would be a real mix, wouldn't it?
Yeah, wow. Well, I know a lot of Jewish Italian people that I grew up with a whole neighborhood of that in Long Island.
It was quite the show. Yes, you had the open air theaters and just the balmy air and the beautiful tropical climate and the people and the food and everything else. Just
was it difficult? Was it difficult growing up, Lansky?
Well, I grew up in Tacoma, Washington, to start with, so I wasn't in the zone of where the mob was really relevant.
Not there.
So I came up in the Northwest. So My dad being in the military, not really. No, I always had pretty good experiences. I'll have to say I didn't know a lot about it till I was about 12 years old, and I saw Walter Cronkite, when my grandfather was in Israel, say that Meyer Lansky tried to get off the plane today in 7 different countries, and they diverted him back to Miami Beach. This was over like a 3-night period.
He was coming in from Israel.
Yeah. And before that, my parents just said that he was a hoteler. He was in the hotel business.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd come out to visit me, or we go to Miami. And when I saw that, I said, nope, he's got to be more than just a hoteler. So then my parents had to kind of give up the secret of, that's the first time I heard mafia, the word mafia. So
they actually used the word.
They used the word. They said, they just were right up front with me about it.
Because Antoinette can tell us up there it was called the outfit.
The outfit, there is the outfit.
The outfit. The word outfit.
Is that right? It was the outfit, right, Antoinette?
Yes.
And then the mafia was more of a different location, right? That was more with Meyer.
Yeah, well, actually, it was a syndicate, they call them. The real mafia is Sicily.
Yeah, that was another word that they used here.
What was the Atlantic City Convention all about? Is that like a pre...
I don't remember. Meyer could take over there. I don't remember
Atlantic City
that.
Convention, yeah.
Pre-Appalachia.
All right. Oh, the only thing I remember about the Appalachian Conference was when the government started hanging around. My father, I understand, darted out of a window and ran for.
Appalachia, that happened.
Yeah.
No, that's there. Yeah,
he was there.
He was there. Yeah.
He was a sprinter.
Luciano and Genovese, they were there.
They were all there. Yeah. No, that's.
So your dad was able to jump out a window and run away into the woods?
He ran away into the woods.
Because they arrested 66 people there that day.
Well, he was a sprinter anyway. He was athletic. That's another thing about these guys. They were all athletic.
Well, in the movie.
Fantastic. They played golf. They did everything.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
I played golf with everybody.
Everybody. He could have been a pro. Some of them could. But anyway, getting back to the Atlantic City, that was in 1929, I believe.
I'll go way back there.
Yeah, and they were going to... settle some differences between, they said that's where they decided how to divide things up at that time.
In one of the documentaries I saw, it was he was talking about someone who started a campaign against him. They never mentioned the name. I'm not going to ask you to reveal it unless you want to. But what kind of circumstances and what did that do? It brought him to the public eye. He would prefer to be low key.
Well, there was a lot of people. The press made him what he, embellished what he really was. I mean, nobody's a superhero in any part of history. There's always lifts people off the ground a lot more than it is. But this was particularly in Israel. He wanted to get citizenship in Israel. Left the United States in 1970 and went over there. He got a visa to stay, and he stayed. And then he wanted to apply for citizenship. They wanted him to come back to the United States for tax evasion, which they never got him on tax evasion. So he had some of the best lawyers you could. Eventually, they wouldn't let him stay. They wouldn't give him citizenship. It was something to do with John Mitchell at the time, with Nixon and John Mitchell, and then the Interior Ministry of Israel. They had something going. Anyway, Grandpa ended up coming back to Florida. And
in the movie Godfather, they show him getting off the plane and get arrested as he's coming through the airport.
Right. Well, actually, he got shot.
He got shot
in the airport.
No,
that's not true, of course.
That's not true.
He
died of lung cancer.
He died of lung
tell me
cancer.
that in 1983.
Yeah, he died of lung cancer in 83. So, died with his boots on and lived a long life for that type of life.
Tom Hillary is from Boston, and we'll forgive him for that. And he's a real Irish guy.
Okay.
I can't decide which one he wants to be. And
Italian-American Club, I'm Italian.
In the Italian-American Club, it's Tom Hillarini.
Yeah, Hillarini, right.
Hillarini.
Well, I actually got a story I'd like to share with you about those days in Cuba. My mom, Mary Jane Hillary, and her sister Betty were in Cuba one time visiting tourists. They went back to their hotel room. Phone rang. Came in from the office for the Pan American World Airways. Mary and Betty, this is Pan American World Airways. Don't pack. Don't do anything. Go downstairs now. Get in the car. We're not waiting for you. Straight to the airport. Got on a plane. Another couple of people jumped up. They had to sit on the plane to get off. Plane took off, landed in Mexico City. The next day they read the headlines. Fidel Castro took Havana.
Right.
So she was like within 12 hours of being caught right up in that. So those were heady, really frightening times.
Oh, I'm sure it was. And, you know, with my grandfather, they have him leaving town in the movie Godfather, too. That's not true. He stayed about 3-4 weeks after. And Castro never really did anything for a while with him personally.
You think he tried to make a deal with Castro?
He thought he always could, but that didn't work out.
I get it. That's what I would do.
Yeah,
So let's try out the new guy.
No, he didn't. It didn't work out with Fidel anyway, but he did stay there for quite some time, and his wife and him actually, tried to keep the place together. And at one point, it just wasn't worth it because nobody was coming. So he basically just dropped the keys and left, and that was it. He lost a lot of money over there, and he had other partners. It wasn't just him involved. He felt very bad about that he couldn't really get their money back because there wasn't enough time.
Speaking of money, he has a famous quote that he said to a couple of times, and the one I was watching today was an Israeli TV show where he said that it was assumed that he had $300 million just before he passed away. And he said, no, I wish I had one. And basically what I'm reading was that the general theory is that he died broke, I guess, but not really. Well, let me know. Do you know where the money is?
I don't know. Anyway, here's the truth about all this. He
Tell me
left
what really
$57,000 back in the 80s to his second wife. That's all he ever left on paper, and that's all we know about. I don't know. Anything else? I have no idea. I think Hank Messick when he wrote the book Lansky, he wrote a bunch of fantasy type things into it as far as his.
Maybe it's buried somewhere.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? I mean, he did make a lot of trips to Switzerland.
Some with Jimmy Hoffa someplace. They're both together. The Money and Jimmy Hoffa. Yeah. We're going to take a break right now, and we'll be right back. And Meyer, we're going to go forward a little bit, and we're going to talk about the state of Vegas today. Okay? Because you're here now, so am I. Let's talk about what's going on now.
Lending Now says stop making your landlord rich. Invest in your own home with our zero down program for first-time homebuyers. Need a lower house payment? Drowning in debt? Call Lending Now for a cash-out refi that will lower your payments and pay off your debt. Low credit score? No problem. We have programs for VA, zero down, bank statements, stated income, and Streamline. Call us for more details at 833-536-3221.
Lending Now is an equal housing lender. Lending Now products are subject to credit and property approval rates. Program terms and conditions are subject to change without notice. Not all applicants will qualify. Lending Now is licensed in California and Nevada. NMLS ID 1575688. Address is 10670 Civic Center Drive, Suite 110, Rancho Cucamonga, California 91730.
Sun Country Heating and Cooling is a premiered certified independent trained dealer that can fix or replace your broken AC system with an unbeatable combination of low-cost repairs and high-efficiency systems. We've installed more high-efficiency trained systems than any trained dealer since 2004. We are a family-owned and operated heating and cooling company. When it's 110 degrees outside and your cooling system fails, you can count on Sun Country Heating and Cooling for fast service. 702-617-8159. That's 702-617-8159.
The Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Tom and Levi.
Tom is the smartest man I know. He's been a professor at 2 major universities, been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, he told me that he was having problems in his classes. I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. And he was telling them that he was doing it as a favor to them, but I think in reality he just wanted to get out of there. I was really starting to worry because I saw something was wrong.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me, and my love for him was just immense.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
There's no other place like Las Vegas to see. No other place like Las Vegas to be. Where beautiful mountains surround the town. Your dreams and fantasies are all around. The lights are so bright.
I was born under a bad sign.
Sopranos, yes.
Yeah, The
of course,
Sopranos.
classic. I love it.
Wasn't that a great series?
That was a great series.
Did you watch it?
I watched it a lot. I watched it actually after it was syndicated more than I did when it was originally on. But,
I can't get enough of it. I wish it wasn't over.
It was really good. I don't know.
They were thinking about having a sequel without
Tony
Soprano.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work. I love Boardwalk Empire also. I thought
that was great,
Anatole
too.
Yusef did a great job.
Was
I was sorry to see that end, by the way.
You know, Vegas has got some issues right now, as we all know. And you're here with me and Tom and everyone else, and we're living with it at this point. It almost feels as if that we're squeezing the life out of this town a little bit. And I think we're at to the point now where we're almost ready to start going the other way. And here you are now. You've all this history of Vegas, and you're so tied into it with your family. And, of course, Antoinette up in Chicago, you're tied into it with your family, Antoinette in Vegas, going forward. What is your opinion of what's happening now? Without being political, we don't want to pick on anybody, but do you think we're going to get something going here again? Because I do.
Yeah, I don't think Las Vegas will ever die. I think, it's been through changes throughout the years. I mean, when the mob left and all the guys left, they went big corporate. That lasted a long time. I mean, it wouldn't matter what it really. Let's say it didn't grow and it was just the same. Even today, we still got this virus. We'd still have a problem, right? So we'll work our way out of it. I think.
Yeah. Well, the virus, yes,
that'll
still be around.
That'll be around.
But you talk about. I think the town is shrinking a little bit. We're going to see a lot of people leave. I know I was watching something on Facebook where there was a big line at the U-Haul location in New York City. They're bailing out of New York right and left. People are leaving a line to get a U-Haul to get out of town. I think we're going to shrink a little bit. I think some of these hotels are never going to open again. They're going to be sold and reopen under a different management. Hopefully not the big corporations. Hopefully local or people we know, personal companies like the ones that just bought the Carano family bought Caesars and stuff like that.
I think that is true, and it's not such a bad thing. I mean, it's funny. You look at the airport, and there's really not a lot of planes. I live close to the the B line where the planes come in, and it's almost actually like we're going back 50, 60 years. Driving down here today on the Strip. I thought, when Ben Siegel was here in 46 and 7, it was probably like this. Highway 91. There's 3 cars on there. I mean, I hate to say that, but it was kind of interesting to think, wow, this is kind of how things used to be.
But you know where it's only quiet on the Strip? I was on my way here today. I took a ride through the outlet mall right over here, the South Outlet Mall. It's packed. It's packed.
The malls are packed.
Totally packed. I was looking for pretzels. I think there's a great pretzel place. I didn't go inside. But it was packed. And I'm saying to myself, all right, this place is busy. People walking everywhere. Of course, everybody had a mask on.
Right.
Doing what they need to do. But it was a very busy mall. They couldn't find a parking space, and it was 3:30. And there's traffic out there now when I go out. Traffic, and on and on. So who's out of work is the people on the Strip and the bar. The people that we do business with, the people I'm with.
Right.
Entertainers, bartenders, showgirls, waiters, waitresses, limo drivers, you just name it. That's who's not working. But somebody's still got money because there's still people out shopping these places.
That's true. I see that, too, in spots you wouldn't normally think. You drive the Strip now, and it's a little bit of a different story. You go into a casino, though, and it's full. So I don't quite. Yeah, it's interesting.
But I had a recent experience at the. What's that, Tom?
Technology is doing fine. Delivery people are doing fine.
Right.
Amazon is doing fine.
Yeah, there's a handful of. There are parts of the economy that are doing great. They're doing better.
Got to go to the mic there, Tom.
Oh, sorry. You want me to say it so people can hear it? Okay.
What'd you say?
I say there are parts of the economy that are doing fine right now. The technology companies are doing good. The delivery companies.
Yeah.
It's not everybody that's hurting. It's certain sectors. And unfortunately for us here in Vegas, we have the most of that sector that's hurting.
What about the movie business?
The movie business is, they've had to be clever and do things differently. They've had to get more creative in editing so that they can shoot in smaller areas with fewer people. So you can't do a big thing out in a field anymore. You can't put whole groups of people together, but you can do tight shots, you can do clever plotting, and you can cut and paste in such a way, not cut and paste the movies, but cut in such a way and edit in such a way that you can make feature films and it looks, there's a lot of interaction with a bunch of people. but that we're using up a lot less space and traveling around a lot less than we used to.
I think that's true with any industry. The gaming industry will have to adjust the same. It'll probably get smaller, more intimate. I personally wouldn't mind seeing the old blueprint come back where you everything's comped and you just gamble. I mean, that's what
I like it.
I have no problem with that.
Customer service.
Yes.
Affordable, terrific food.
Oh, yes. Those days.
And lots of comps.
Lots of comps.
And top-notch A1 entertainment. Open the lounges back up.
Right.
Let's do that first, and let's get the showrooms going. We'll figure this out. I figure that, like where the Bronx Wanderers work at Harrah's, it's a 600-seat showroom. Well, 300 people would be a good crowd in there if they did 50% and separate everybody half the room. That would be a great crowd, 300 people, because we do that mostly anyway, 280, 290. We never had 600 unless on a special occasion. So it's really not going to hurt much of these bigger venues because they don't fill up anyway. So 50% almost works.
I don't see any problem with that. I think that would be an adjustment. But I don't know how
I'm talking to the choir, and I don't know why the bars aren't open yet. Let's say goodbye to Antoinette Giancana. You still with us, Antoinette?
I'm still with you, and you know something? I am planning a trip to Vegas. I truly miss all of my friends there and associates and whatever. So when I come down or across, or whichever way, I would like to see you in person and meet you in person. Meyer and I could get together, and we could be together in a chit-chat, personal chit-chat, I think.
And we could do that at Bugsy and Myers.
Yes, we could. That would be great.
Why
take you to the restaurant.
Let's do something historical.
That sounds great.
Thank you for being on the phone in Chicago for the whole hour, Antoinette Giancana. You're just wonderful. I look forward to meeting you in person. Thanks for being there, okay? And we'll talk to you soon.
All right, Antoinette.
God bless you.
God bless you. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
She's amazing.
Yes, she is.
She's amazing.
She's 85.
85.
85. She's been in Playboy magazine at one time.
Really?
Just a character. Obviously. Amazing person, yes.
So I think that what we were saying earlier is going to be more emphasis on gaming because we've lost that.
Yes.
And that was what Vegas was, and it became more everything else and the showrooms got overpriced. And Cirque du Soleil, it was great. I hate to see them have problems. I hate to see everybody out of work. But I've been saying for years, enough with the Cirque du Soleil shows. But now I want them back because I want everybody to be working again.
Sure, yeah, that's
and get these lounges open. The local businesses have to get open too. That's where the local entertainers perform that I speak with most of the time with, and you know who I'm talking about. You know a lot of them,
yes,
including our friend Barbara Brighton. She says hello to you, and I understand that you go to a lunch on Thursdays at Excellent with Cliff Lawrence. Is that right?
Yes, I do.
And I'll be at the next one.
Oh, great.
As a matter of fact, I got to tell you a story. I thought it was this last Thursday, and I showed up over there to go to the entertainer's lunch at Excellent, dressed up, looking good, right? We meet everybody, say hello to you, and I said, "Where's the crowd? Where are these people?" Oh my goodness! I say, "Miss," she says, "I don't know what you're talking about." I looked at my phone and got my email up and realized I was a week early. So I left. And I was a bit embarrassed, and I kept yelling at myself. Meyer Lansky II, thank you so much for being on the Las Vegas Rocks radio show.
Well, thanks. It's been wonderful.
Tom, you got anything you want to throw?
Yeah, Meyer, if I can throw something past
We're on the close now, right now. We got 1 minute.
Very, very quick. We just talked about how a single-deck blackjack, you have like a 17.5% chance of winning. Well, somewhere I heard that secretaries who go flit off and chase their bosses have like about a 17.5% chance of getting married to them.
Right.
So I wonder if there's a way we can get together and start a new game.
I'm scared of both of them. I don't know.
Thank you all for
Thank
you all for listening to the Las Vegas Rocks radio show, dedicated to the promotion, motivation, and encouragement of local entertainers, singers, musicians, and the venues they perform in. Now, even more than ever, places are opening. We want to help you. The Las Vegas Rocks radio show is here for you. Let me know when you plan to reopen, and this show will offer you a platform to tell everybody about your good news. Thank you, Tom, Hillary. Thank you, Jim Dallas. Thank you, Tammy Morelli, listening to the show tonight. And it was great having you here, Meyer, and I hope to see you again real soon.
Well, I sure hope to be back.
And remember, Las Vegas rocks.
Las Vegas rocks. No doubt about that.
night, hold my hand as we walk under the lights. Vegas nights, I'll always remember the love that we shared. Vegas nights.